Now, we are going to a place which is quite important and which people also leave till the end and can also cause problems is the clinical examination and procedural skills. So I will just open it now. Now, for the first of all, what is CEPS? CEPS are clinical examination and procedural skills. It's just a way of telling the panel that you still have these examination skills. So it's a way of assessing you for this. When I started, first of all, you have the mandatory skills and you have the non-mandatory skills, other skills. When I started training, we just had the mandatory skills. But with time, these other skills, which is non-mandatory skills, were also added. And there are some discussions that I'm hearing that a lot more will be added. So always keep your eye on your RCGP website for any updates to the portfolio. So as you can see, the mandatory skills, you have prostate examination, you have rectal exam, you have female genital bimanual, you have female genital speculum, you have breast, you have male genital. For how I did this and how I would advise everyone to do this is, for example, if you're seeing a patient that needs a prostate exam and rectal, just do both of them at the same time. If you'll always be on top of it. The day I got my male genital was the day I got my prostate and was the day I got my rectal. So you have to be on top of it so that you don't miss opportunities. In hospital, when you're doing a hospital rotation, it's quite easy to get this done because any registrar from ST4 and above can sign you off. So it's quite easy to get this done and get this sorted because if you're on call and the registrar on call, for example, is ST4 and above, they can sign you off. On the ward, they can sign you off. But it's a little tougher in the GP practice because more often than not, it's usually your supervisor or it's a GP that has to do it for you. So in that case, you need to be on top of it. What I used to do to get this sorted was I used to look at my patients for the next day, especially if I feel that I'm lacking in one area. I used to look at my patients for the next day, or if I come in the morning, I look at my patients, and if I think this person needs this, I start looking at the computer to see which GP is available to help me out, and just ask them, will you be able to stand in for this? Remember, this is postgraduate training, so you have to chase it up. So you do the examination, and then when you open it, you go to request CEPS assessment, right? So you click on it, and then you now click on whatever you want to request. So let's say prostate, for example. So if you click on prostate, you now go to invite. Okay. So you will have a contact list, which would be clear until you start adding people. So if the person is on your contact list, you just click on the person. If not, you can invite a new colleague. Okay, so you can invite a new colleague, you put the title, you put the first name, surname, you put the assessor's position. So if it's a GP, you put, if it's an ST4, ST5, ST7, you put, and then you put the person's email address. And then you can now add a personal message. You can say, can you complete a steps for me? You can say, can you complete a steps for this, that? If it is something that you did a long time ago, which I don't advise, once you do a steps, that day just send it out, because if not, the person may forget. So when you do that, you submit, and then the person completes it for you. I would advise that once you do it, you send it out. It doesn't take up to a couple of seconds or so for you to send it out. So let's go back. So these are the mandatory skills. These are the ones that are non-mandatory. If you go to RCGP websites, they say try and do non-mandatory as many as possible, as many as you can. But what I would advise is if you can get one or more of each of them, it's good. Don't leave it blank, because this has been there since the beginning of your training. So the non-mandatory, you can get this in your GP practice, you can get this anywhere, respiratory, ENT, abdominal, you can get them sorted. Most times they say it's one throughout training, which is fine. But if you can do more than that, that's fine too. Obviously, when you're in this case, because you are inviting, you don't have the luxury of filling in the capabilities or the clinical experience groups. It is your assessor that fills that in. But remember, this is an assessment. You have to have all this completed, and they run all through your training. But it is expected that every training year you have done some CEPS. You can see more of this in your course and in the demo, which will show templates of how these are entered. So let's go on to CEPS reflections now. Obviously, CEPS is clinical examination and procedural skills. So all the skills we have talked about before. Now, there's a difference between CEPS assessments and CEPS reflection. CEPS assessments, we have the mandatory ones, which I talked about, and the ones that are not so mandatory, but something I would advise we do. These are compulsory. You must meet your minimum requirements in the CEPS assessments. Now, CEPS reflection is different. It's you reflecting on an assessment you did. It might be that, okay, let me give an example. I had a CEPS reflection for a child that was having some vaginal discharge, and she was 5 years old, and I needed to just have a look, and just to be sure nothing else was going on there. And obviously, when a child is having some vaginal discharge, you have to have safeguarding somewhere at the back of your mind. And she was quite uncomfortable. She took a little bit of convincing from her mom to have a look. And I chose not to have a look because she was very uncomfortable. It's something I reflected in how non-verbal communication, even in a child, is very important. Even if the mother is saying go ahead, but looking at the child, I wasn't so comfortable. And I just reflected in issues with examination. So that's what I put in my self-reflection. Now let's look at what goes in self-reflection log. So it's evidence of your ability to perform a variety of examination and procedural skills. It's important, as I said, if you can see, the CEPS entry format is unchanged. Evidence of your ability to perform a variety of examination and procedural skills in order to demonstrate this capability is essential. Now, it has now said you can reflect on any examination or procedure in this area and link it. So you can reflect on anything at all in this area. And that's why I gave my example. Now, this is not, if you notice, this is not the area to document your mandatory CEPS. The area is in the assessment area, as is written in the last line, okay? So if you want to put a new CEPS reflection, you click on this, put your title, put the dates. You can put the CEPS performed, the reason for the CEPS. Then as you can see, communication and cultural factors. So there, I wrote that the little child was not comfortable with me having a look. I explained how I feel she felt. And then ethically, even if her mom, what are the ethical factors here? Even if her mom said I should go ahead, I did not want to force her because she was quite uncomfortable about it and I was crying. And it just helped me reflect on whether it was ethically correct for even the parent to tell me to try and force her to get it done. So it's not compulsory, but I said it can add to your clinical experience groups. So here, if I was going to reflect on that, I could have still said gender, reproductive, and sexual health because it's a child and it is in her female area, for want of a better word. So these things, even if they're not adding to your numbers, they can add to the richness and the versatility of your capability, of how you use your capabilities, if that makes sense. Okay, so that's why for me, I used to put one or two of them there. So I think that is it for CEPS reflection, really. It's not something that is compulsory, but it can add to the breadth of your portfolio. You would see more of this as a demo and in your course when you go through it more.